Thank you for joining me for another quick hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn, aka Mental MacGyver. I provide concierge high performance support and coaching to executives, founders, celebrities, and athletes. With me today, I have Judy Musa. She's a founder and managing partner at Mojo Collaborative Communications, where she does strategic communications and is a storyteller, a content creator, and a social connector. I have Stewart Wiggins. He's with Induna Advisors, where he offers fractional chief operating officer services and brings resources together to help scale your business. And I have Glady Baradaran. She has 15 years of HR experience and a love for organizational development. The question I have today, how do you know if someone is stonewalling you and how do you respond? Glady, what do you think?
Oh, so where do I start? For me, it would be a silent treatment. That's how I look at it. It's a silent treatment. I thought about this question since last night you sent it, and I tell myself there's like three things I can say about it. First is that if somebody's having a silent treatment towards me, up to now, I haven't been able to find the perfect solutions to change or anything. I have not been successful on finding a solution for it. That's for sure. Second, my level of patience for somebody giving me a silent treatment varies depending if it's somebody I'm in a love relationship with, if it's a family, if it's friends, or it's colleagues. And third is up to now, one thing that I've been doing is if this happens often, if the person has the behavior of having silent treatment as a way of functioning towards me, then I would just walk away.
Okay, great. Judy, what came up for you?
So it's really an interesting question because stonewalling does come up. It comes up in every part of our lives. So as Glady said, I would say yes. I think it depends on the person and their relationship to me. So if it's someone who's familial or close or somehow personal, it's much harder to walk away because you might be living with that person. So I would bring it up probably with a therapist if we were seeing one, or some other third party to help us work out why this stonewalling is a habit or a coping mechanism or whatever it is, because that's what I see it as. If it's someone that's like maybe a colleague, or maybe someone I just know as an acquaintance, I might just walk away. But I would also try to figure out at some other juncture when we're in a different place to find out, hey, we dealt with this particular situation and you didn't really respond. Was it something how I said it, what I said? I would try to probe and try to understand what's the stonewalling? What is that? Is it a coping mechanism? And was there something that happened that made you angry at me? And that was just, you just didn't want to deal with it. So you were too angry to deal with me. So that's kind of, so I think it really does depend on the situation.
So for me, when I look at it, I think there's at least for me, it was a chronological age component. When I was younger, I might have returned the same thing, stonewall, because I didn't know how to respond to it. But now that I'm older, I have no problem saying, tell me what your problem is. Why aren't you talking? Because I feel like I don't want to waste time if you don't want to talk. And I have no problem saying that. Now, having said that, it sounds aggressive on my part. If you're in a relationship with somebody, maybe a stonewalling might be good for a couple of minutes to let everybody just catch their breath, reset the situation, calm down, clarity of thought, and let's come back. I don't know if that's stonewalling or whether that's timeout, but I don't tolerate stonewalling. It doesn't happen in my life professionally, and I don't believe it happens to me personally very much, if at all.
For me, stonewalling can also include someone talking in a circle. And I'm thinking specifically about a vendor for something I was going to have done here at the house. And it was always, oh yeah, we're going to do that tomorrow. Oh, your stuff didn't come in. Oh, there was like this other excuse and another excuse. And at some point I finally was like, look, if you want the job, we need to figure out how to get it done. And if you don't, then we're going to just cut our losses and walk away, because this whole kind of, oh yeah, tomorrow, oh, next week, oh, it's supposed to come in. That's ridiculous. And I don't want any of that nonsense in my life.
As you said this, Robyn, what came to my mind is, particularly when you're hiring someone to do some work and there are always sometimes things that come in the way, right? Like there's barriers. So to try to avoid the stonewalling, I've tried to be a little bit preemptive in terms of Robyn and I have an agreement to work on a project and we lay out in advance, okay, these are the steps and the timelines. It doesn't always work, but at least if you have that, then you can go back and say, hey, you said Thursday we would have this and this conversation, or next Friday, you said you were going to get this to me, and I don't see it happening because of X, Y, and Z. So what's the next plan? So that way you really, to some degree, don't feel like you're falling flat-footed, especially if you're working in a group of people and everybody's got their part. To your point, Stewart, when everyone's pulling their weight and working together, then you all know you've got the same goal in mind. And if somebody's stonewalling, then it's like, wait a minute, what's the problem? So if you have these expectations preset, it makes it easier to avoid that.
Communicating, collaborating, explaining is one of the key core competencies or actually being a human to be able to deal with everybody. So if that person is unable to do it, or they do it because they want to do it towards you, it belongs to them. So you know how, Judy, you said seeing a psychologist, often they don't even would like to come to a psychologist. They have to accept that they have this problem in their behavior to go see someone. I kept thinking about it. What is my role in it? So I can tell them, as Stuart said, let's talk about it. What is going on? I'm noticing it. But if they keep doing it, I feel at a certain point, it belongs to them. That it becomes toxic for me. So it's like walking away and saying, all right, I cut that relationship and feel happily ever after.
Yes, I think that strategy works because it almost like level sets everybody. Once you call them on it, then I've found that, okay, they say, well, look, here's the deal. Because maybe they just didn't know how to broach whatever was on their mind. So what I do was you break the seal and say, let's not play this game. Tell me what's on your mind. And I think, at least in my experience, most people say, okay, here's the deal. And I just didn't know how to get into it. So, and that can happen on a personal level or a professional.
I think another example of stonewalling is keeping information. Like, information is power, and people at work not sharing things you need to know to do your job. And when you ask, the email gets lost, or they don't know, or I can't talk about it right now, or whatever. That's another example of stonewalling. And if someone has information you need to succeed at your job and they're stonewalling you and not giving it to you, what do you do?
Then you get your manager involved. But first you talk to them, as you have to bring it up. The same way as Stuart said, it's a game. You bring it up. If it's not going anywhere, you get managers involved, and then you get HR involved. Again, collaborating, sharing information, all of this is important for the organization to move forward. So if somebody's playing that role, but especially at the place of power, then really I'm hoping that there's a smart HR there to go back and try to find a way to find a solution, because that person has to change their behavior. It's not to other people to change their behavior and beg, please give me that information, or walk away. It's not to us.
Now, there's people that like to bring drama into an organization, or they like to bring drama into a situation. And what Glady just said made me think about that, is because there are some people that may be predisposed. They might not know it's stonewalling, but they're just predisposed. They have this dark cloud of drama. That, to me, is the time you bring a third party in, because we need to cut to the chase. Because when you're doing a hire or you have somebody on the team, if they have drama, they're toxic and they're not going to be good for the long haul. You can describe stonewalling any way you want, but at the end of the day, they're drama creators. And if they can't correct the behavior, then they might not be best suited to be part of the organization.
Yeah, I was just thinking that you're right. It is like drama. It's like the stonewalling. I guess I was really thinking also about the whole HR issue. There's a lot of really small organizations where all kinds of weird drama and dynamics happen, and there isn't an HR person. And if the leader is like that, it really is pretty hard. It almost begs you to say, this is not the place for me, and to move on and find a different kind of work order. If it's a colleague, then yes, hopefully you can either talk to that person directly and or then go to their respective manager, whoever's in charge, again, to cut through the chase and cut through the drama, because you all really do have to work together, especially if it's a really small organization where it's intrinsically only if everybody works together do you succeed. Everyone's really hitched to each other's wagon, so to speak.
I work with a lot of startups, and if you have one bad apple, it can sink the whole ship. It just can make a complete disaster. I'm currently reading a book by a colleague called From Conflict to Collaboration. And in it, he outlines how it doesn't have to be black and white, like I win, you lose. You have to figure out, what are everybody's needs? What are you trying to accomplish? Why is this happening? And once you understand that, you can start to pick and choose. Okay, well, if this is your need and this is my need, we can do something that kind of moves those things together. So to your point, Glady, that collaboration, but you have to be willing to talk. If somebody's stonewalling you and not giving you the truth, it's really hard accomplish anything. So thank you so much for having this conversation with me, and I look forward to speaking to each of you again very soon.